So I recently sat down with two experts in this field, certified health coach and all-around health expert Daniel Belt. If you follow me on Chalk Talk, you are familiar with Daniel Belt. We've had him on several times. This will be his first time on Into the Multiverse. And we also sat down with nutrition specialist and author of the book Time Bomb, A Genocide of Deadly Processed Foods, Joe Horn. As you're going to see in this interview, things are really bad out there. They are. We're not going to lie about it. We're not going to sugarcoat it, but it's also not doom and gloom. There is good news. There is hope. So this is not a hopeless situation, which that's great news. And there are some practical steps that you can take today, starting right now, to make sure that you're not just another statistic in this glyphosate epidemic. There was many reasons that I wanted to do this interview. So we're gonna talk about all of that and much more in this interview. Again, it is with Daniel Belt and Joe Horn. So yeah, you're gonna want to check this out. Watch this. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. So we've been talking about this recent story about how Bayer is offering $8 billion to settle Roundup cancer claims. This brought up something else that I've seen a lot in headlines today. I'm going to make sure I say this right, glyphosate. I've been seeing this a lot in news. Recently, you, Joe, actually just sent me a headline. Glyphosate found in urine of 93% of Americans tested.
That's right.
This is crazy. So for people who aren't aware of the whole glyphosate thing, what is it? What does it do? How bad of a problem is this?
Glyphosate is one of the lead ingredients in a product called Roundup, but it's being used in our farms. It's being used agriculturally. Corporations like Monsanto now own the copyrights to many seeds, so that even farmers that want to grow their own vegetables and get away from all the herbicides and all of this are being challenged in court to give up their rights to do that, so that Monsanto can then own more of the food share.
It's crazy a seed can be copyrighted.
Oh, it's especially when they've genetically modified the seed and now own the patent to a seed that God never actually intended for humans to consume. But glyphosate, I'm just gonna share a couple of things with you. And this is from a laboratory at the University of California, San Francisco. Glyphosate, the most used herbicide in the world, has been found in the urine of 93% of Americans during a unique testing project carried out by the laboratory at the University of California, San Francisco in 2015. Why do we care? The CDC says that the health risks from pesticide exposure depend on the toxicity of the pesticides, the amount of a person is exposed to, and, give me a sec, because Daniel's bursting.
I can tell he's about to jump up from his seat.
Well, and so many people are, but a person is exposed to, and the duration and the route of exposure. Noting evidence suggests children are at higher risk. Their immune systems have not adapted well to this at all. Pesticide residues have been found to be present in 70% of our produce sold in the U.S.
Wow.
So when you go to the grocery store and you try to eat right, and you go in, I'm going to make a kale smoothie, and I'm going to put garlic clove, and I'm really going to detox, and I'm even going to spend more money. Instead of eating cereal, I'm going to do the right thing. You might actually accidentally be increasing your exposures to everything that create cancer, lymph node dysfunction, endocrine problems, immune system, autoimmune system troubles. More than 92% of kale tested in the U.S. has been found to contain 2 or more pesticide residues, and a single sample of conventionally farmed kale could contain up to 18 different pesticides.
Jeez, does this count in stuff that's labeled as organic and stuff like that?
So when you get food, there are several games being played with organic labels that we talk extensively about in the book Time Bomb, and there's just way too many games and things to cover in a brief format like today. But in a nutshell, I can tell you that safely, when you go with foods that are organic project verified or USDA, which is becoming weaker at the moment. There's people pushing back now against even like the USDA organic labeling systems. A lot of the gaming there, people are pushing back to hold them to account. And right now, one of the best things that we have going for us, and I'm sure Daniel will agree, is our agricultural independence. This is family farms. This is people pushing to eat organic. They're pushing back against people that want to introduce the game loops and the holes in organic labeling. Let me share another Harvard study found that women undergoing fertility treatment who ate more pesticide fruits and vegetables again, this goes back to assuming that you're doing the right thing for your body. You know, I'm creating a little human being in a womb. I want to make sure that baby has nutrients. Were found that when they increased high pesticide fruits and vegetables, aka the things you find at the grocery store, were less likely to have a live birth.
Wow.
Deformities, mutations, cancers in small children, cereals, grains, tap water. Daniel, talk to us about tap water. People every day are drinking poisons they're not even aware of. I mean, when they think about their diet, they're only thinking, let's avoid fast food, and I should be better than if I don't. But they don't even consider the water sources that they're getting. How do you get weed killer in water?
Yeah, this blows my mind too, and this is why this is so important, because we talked earlier in the episode about dangers with microchipping and biohacking, and all of those are problems that are on the horizon. They're here in a lot of ways now, but focusing too much on those, I think, obfuscates away from this kind of stuff, especially if it's in our tap water at home. Yeah, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and actually, as per the previous conversation, relation to technology and how all the things that are affecting us, this is the most significant thing affecting us. And glyphosate we're picking on right now because it deserves it. But there's many other things that could also be associated with that. But it is so pervasive, it's quite amazing. And so glyphosate, it was not patented as a weed killer. It was patented as an antibiotic. Right?
Exactly.
And this is an important distinguishment because, and this is what allowed for it, because it targets the pathways in plants exclusively and not in humans, and which is what allowed them to do this. And so whenever it inhibits an enzyme in the plant, right? And so we spray it down, and this goes all over our fields, and they blanket the field, and actually very little of the glyphosate content actually just goes to plants. It goes to the whole field, the whole soil ecology.
Right.
And when I say soil ecology, that's the bacteria and things that live in soil.
Right.
And this is actually the most important thing because it fundamentally disrupts the ecological state of the soil, and then a lot of processes can't happen. It specifically inhibits kind of the way that amino acids are converted to bioavailable states for humans.
Right.
And so not only does it do it from the plant, so you're wanting to go and get amino acids, which we have 200,000 amino acids essentially make up the human body, and 9 of those actually can't be made by the human body, and those are the 9 essentials that we have to get outside of ourselves. So when then we put this stuff into our soil, it inhibits that, and it's bacteria that breaks these things down. Well, then we eat it, and we know that bacteria in our stomach is responsible for huge amounts of our own nutrition, not just, but in all of our body. So it doesn't just affect it on the plant. We then take it into us, and these affect the epithelial linings, the stomach linings, also passing through the blood-brain barrier and things like this by creating permeability in these layers. So there's all kinds of things that occur. It evaporates. So whenever glyphosate evaporates, it raises up into the sky, and then we end up breathing it, which is actually more severe in its particulation than it is actually in its liquid form. You just don't get the same volume. But it's still like the worst. And you're breathing an antibiotic. That's essentially what that's implying.
There was a recent report, too, that says glyphosate, researchers from the University of Washington evaluated existing studies and found that that you have a 41% higher risk of cancer if you're exposed to glyphosate than if not. So if we're breathing that in, 41%, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. But I also, before people absolutely lose their mind, I want to bait you just for a minute, let you know, before this panel closes, though we can't give you every step to make yourself impervious to all this stuff, we're going to give you some very good tips on how to begin today with where you're at to sidestep or at least mitigate some of the effects of this. And to answer a question that you asked me a minute ago, what about USDA organic labeled foods? Can you sidestep this? You can dramatically reduce. There are concerns that because of birds flying over and cross-pollinating seeds from one farm to the next, things that get sprayed 30 acres away, air and rain carry it over to another. Yes, and in that regard, what mankind is doing to the earth is absolutely devastating, and I'm not going to candy coat it. It's getting very hard to avoid these things. However, there is a massive difference, and there's a ton of research that you could independently do, or, again, I defer to the book Time Bomb if you want some of the statistics.
That's what it looks like. And we'll let you know how you can get a hold of it in just a minute here. But there are a lot of really practical steps any of you at home could take, way more than we would be able to talk about during the time of this interview.
Although, to interject really quickly, we are going to, in the future, be providing programming over things we can do. It's not, we don't want to just give doom and gloom. We really want the premise of what we're doing here to be hope, and not hopeful based in, just hope, but hope based in reason. And so there's a lot of things that we can really do, as to which he was alluding to, and we're going to provide more of that programming.
But you can start today to dramatically reduce the exposures that you and your children are up against with this stuff. Clean water is a huge one. Also, there are seals now on some of my, and again, I don't brand endorse, because as soon as I publicly brand endorse, unless it's something I'm comfortable carrying at the Skywatch television store, companies get bought out. So if I make a statement like, oh, I like this particular kind of oatmeal, and then 6 months later I've created a soundbite of that, it gets archived somewhere, somebody finds that and they start eating that oatmeal for the rest of their life. But in the meantime, they've got bought out by a large corporation, like, I'm just using Nestle as an example. Then there's this question about quality control, ingredients from seed to shelf. Did they actually put the work into making sure that we're sidestepping chemical exposures? So there are seals, for example, now that will literally say on the front of them, things like from farmers we know, or you'll see a little seal at the bottom that will say independently bio-certified glyphosate free. I love to support brands that are making a very proactive effort to announce at the onset, not just that it's generically organic and then you're to go independently research, although that's a healthy thing to do and I do it all the time, but for the layperson who just doesn't have time to face the avalanche, who are raising children and working their jobs, and they're like, I just can't even watch a panel like this, guys. I'm seriously drowning in despair, and 5G technology is coming, and what am I supposed to do?
Sounds incredibly complicated.
Oh, it's just too much. Great resource would be an example, something like Time Bomb, but also Daniel. Let's get back to water, because if I had to point at one thing, apart from cereals and the foods we eat every day, one of the fastest way to get birth control residues, antibiotic residues, and weed killer exposures every day, even if you were to eat completely organic, if you're not doing something about your own tap water or well water, if you're on a well, you are not immune from this stuff. I have a well at home that's 300 feet deep and it's less than a year old. I still use a water filter. But go ahead and talk to us a little bit about how do you get clean water if that is one of the fastest ways to disease right now?
Yeah, and the water really is the fastest way to disease right now, and that is we are so much constituted of water. Our water is in all of the aspects of agriculture, sewage, rain runoff, and all different kinds of things. So there's actually a couple really positive things to bear in mind. One thing is shown that over time, soil organisms having good bacterial ecology, so if we can return our soils to the right ecology by using the right practices in water, organisms can break it down eventually, but you have to stop giving it glyphosate. So that means there are actually regenerative practices that we can take that will offset this, and we can restore our stewardship over the earth. Like, we are meant to be good stewards. Like, these things have laws and reason behind them. They're created in a very specific way, and we are the ones that are responsible for that. And it's shown now that if we're willfully ignorant to that fact, we pay for that fact.
Hugely.
Yes, and at any moment that we go back to and reinstitute the practices by which govern our earth through biologic, so to speak, and get away from this chemical warfare that we got going on, poisoning us at the most base levels, and then that goes inside of us, we have real chances to undo these things. And so there was relatively recently, some tests done on water filters associated with glyphosate. And we're going to, again, go into this probably a little bit more depth in the future. A high quantity of filters tested, all the way from gravity filters like large Berkey filters, all the way down to sport bottle filters and pitcher filters and ones in between. They had, basically tested all these, not every brand on the market, but there was one there were a couple of the sports bottle ones removed up to upwards of like 57% of glyphosate, which I think is actually quite good considering you just put it in a sport bottle. Right. And so you have a number of your water pitchers you might be used to, like Pure or Brita or something to that
Certainly
effect.
better than nothing, but if you're a glass half empty guy, you're thinking, but I'm still getting
50%.
40 times more glyphosate than our great-grandfathers did, you know?
And one of the ironies behind this a little bit was the fact that some of the sports bottle filters filtered better than some of the tabletop filters, so the pitcher filters. So a lot of it's about the quality of it. There was one filter in particular that was of the pitcher kind that removed 100% of detectable glyphosate.
Wow.
100%, like literally no scientifically significant amount of detectable glyphosate, and that's huge. I mean, that is huge. Now, chances are you're going to have to change that filter on a somewhat regular basis just based on the volume that we're exposed to.
Now, people are going to be wondering, which one is it, Daniel? Which one is it? So, at the time of this recording, are you comfortable telling them which one it was?
No. And I will, but I'm going to.
But we have reasons, guys.
Yes.
It's not to withhold information. It's let me just interject, because I would be thinking the same thing. Which one is it? Which one is it? We would encourage you to safely check out, go to Google and just type out, water filters and either do your own research and find maybe some of the results that Daniel was able to find. I've watched this, and again, I'm not going to name big corporations, but supplements that I used to personally take. At one time, just 2 years ago, I would have said, these are the ones, these are the ones. I've had to redact that position, and I thought at the time, had I said that in Time Bomb, for example, I could have devastated a whole generation of people now that are getting a huge disservice in quality ingredient controls. Corporations get bought out by very anti-mom, very anti-breastfeed, very pro-vaccine type corporations that will do anything and everything as soon as, they got the deep pockets. They buy a family-owned company and they start swapping things out.
Well, it makes sense why you're not comfortable actually giving out the specific product, because you just never know what's going to happen with those companies in the future.
But we're not going to leave it totally ambiguous. Daniel, we actually at SkywatchTelevisionStore.com do carry some very phenomenal water filtration systems.
Well, and really it's kind of beyond phenomenal, and that's what this bore out in. So they technically say that Berkey's filter 75% of glyphosate.
And if you're not familiar with a Berkey, maybe we can put up an image for you and maybe a link to the Skywatch Television Store. But go ahead.
Sure. But under practical tests by third party, it removed the big Berkey filter, removed 100% of the glyphosate.
Wow.
So not
phenomenal.
Like way beyond, and I assume that there's probably some liability error that they're hedging on a bit when they make their claims. But when put through multiple tests, they came out at 100% removal. And the good thing, at least to Berkey, and I can speak to that at least, for our purposes, is it removed a vast amount of anything that was really It's kind of a gold standard. And there was one other one. Again, I won't get into mentioning that name, but it was 100% as well. And there was only 3, and one was the water pitcher, and 2 were the gravity filters. And but the other one, and I can't speak completely educatedly about it, so you can't hold me this exactly, but you could check it out yourself. And I can't remember the exact name of it, but they use plastic reservoirs, which I wasn't in favor of, really. And so, but that again, 100%. And if it can be done as a gravity filter, or especially as a pitcher filter, it would also should be done on your shower filter as well, because people don't realize that whenever we ingest that water, just not orally, whenever we shower. It's why we wrinkle, because we're saturated with the water and the constituents in the water.
And if people are thinking, okay, I've never heard of a Berkey. Some people get it confused with Berkeley, and they're not sure what it even means. And you're thinking, surely a filter like that is thousands of dollars. We have models right at the $199 price point if you want one of the smaller Berkeys. But I mean, they cap at, I think, under this is all from memory, but under $400 for the Royal Berkey. Well, and so, okay, the CDC, I'm going to go back to something they've said, and maybe I will stop with this, because I want to address, we don't have time to go through the whole premise of the book Time Bomb, but if you're still unfamiliar with that, It deals with autoimmune disease, reversing things like Crohn's, fibromyalgia, digestive issues, gallbladder issues, chronic fatigue, brain fog, so much of the stuff that people deal with every day that their traditional medicine practitioners have told them is normal aging, or it's just the times we live in, or they've bumped up to the statistical norms. And Daniel, you know this is true, that like with testosterone dropping in our men, over 1,000 points since 2 generations ago. So let's say my great-grandfather had 2,700 as a high T count in his man. He's a man with 2,700 active testosterone in his body. The normal now for my age is about 550. That would be on the low side of it.
Wow.
But because everybody's has fallen, it's now normal. There's nothing normal about it. Does this make sense?
Yeah,
So-
it's like the average. But
Yeah, the average is, okay, so that's the average, but is it where God wants his people?
Exactly.
Are people suffering? And let me just throw this out there. The CDC explains that this is a quote, a wide range of health effects, acute and chronic, are associated with exposures to some pesticides, including nervous system impacts, skin. I've seen guys with MTHFR genetic conditions or no known illness that have this constant boils and skin rashes and things like this. Their doctors have called it psoriasis of the skin, and they've given them ointments or oral meds for this. It doesn't do anything for them. They suffer. Eye irritation, retinal tinnitus, brain fog, cancer, and endocrine disorders, the inability to sleep at night, the inability to produce hormones, the inability to create proper stomach bile for the breaking down of food, which leads to gallbladder issues. So then traditional medicine wants to just start surgically removing things because they hurt.
Yeah.
We as a people have walked so far away from the laws of God. Daniel kind of hinted at when he talked about the soil and the way that God had created it originally and what we've done to basically destroy so much of it. I just want to leave viewers with this. There is hope. Try not to let the daily, nuclear bombardment of what is in social media about things like 5G technology, pesticides, herbicides. Remember that God knew all of this would be happening in 2019, and he put you here for a reason anyway. And so maybe it's about teaching our kids to avoid this stuff. Maybe it's about reversing disease through the God-given principles of how we're to take care of our temple. But also, we just want to shed light on darkness for those that are trying really hard, but are still experiencing, chronic fatigue or upset of the stomach, or they have stress or irrational anxiety. So much of this starts in the gut tube.
Let me piggyback on one thing you just said, Joe. You'd mentioned a variety of issues that this can create, some endocrine derangement, skin issues, just a whole variety of things, colitis, Crohn's,
right.
And totally tied also to the eliminative organs, the colon, colitis, Crohn's, diverticulitis, these vast array of diseases that we're struggling with now as a people. And the big trend is probiotics, and of which is a powerful tool for us to use to help people out. But we have so destroyed the culture within, the kind of ecosystems in the body that these actually kind of fall on barren soil in so many ways. So the other really big positive to actually come out of this conversation is the fact of how much money you can save. Because this, we have probiotics, actually bacterial ecology of your mouth has a lot to do with cavities. Bacterial ecology in your nose has a lot to do with sinus infection. It is kind of everywhere. So, and this glyphosate continuously breaks down this entire process from the beginning to the end. And if we correct this on the most base levels, so by reducing something, by taking glyphosate out of our lives in the small steps into which we do, we can greatly save ourselves huge amounts of money. Not just from not buying probiotics to help our upset stomach or our colitis or our Crohn's, but by preventing the scenario that ever occurs in the first place. And that keeps you out of the hospitals, it keeps you away from co-pays, keeping your premiums down. That's the other thing about our sick care system. And that's what it is. It's a sick care system. It isn't a health care system. Once you're liable, you're always liable. If I had a heart murmur at 20 and I then got my health right, and then everything completely redeems and corrects itself and regenerates, then in turn, I'm still liable for the problem I had the first time. I'm in great health by comparison to 20 years ago. And,
Right, exactly.
you know, when I was in my early 20s, high blood pressure in the Army, high blood pressure, high cholesterol,
Right.
like insomnia, like serious like metabolic derangements as well as endocrine derangements where, you know, my hormones weren't functioning correctly.
Right.
And, you know, now it's 25 years later.
But at that time, you were eating the SAD diet, too.
That was a sad diet. And
running on your youth,
a
your
lot of
adrenaline. I did the
stress.
same thing, Tons of stress, running on adrenaline.
Sad diet is standard American diet.
The SAD diet is standard American diet. It's
Right.
just whatever you see that makes sense to you to eat that day.
Yeah.
Whether it be handy or tastes good.
And especially, you know, and I think that this is even more true because, you know, it was quite some time ago. But, you know, being in the military, you had to eat what you could get when you could get it and as much fuel as you could get, right?
Right.
And we didn't ever even talk about these things. This kind of information didn't exist, even though the reality existed, right? So it shows that, you know, and as a kid that kind of grew up living that way, and there's kind of a phrase in healthcare circles, you can't exercise your way through a bad diet.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean?
Well, that's
like
right.
it will offset a lot.
Right.
Because I'm eliminating.
You're
my
eliminating,
lymph is
yes.
bouncing and my lungs are taking up
And
a
you're
lot
sweating
more.
out.
Sweating and doing all this stuff. But it will always catch you. The truth bears witness to itself, you know. So this is just evidence. So we don't like all this disease, but it's just evidence
Well,
for
it's
the
one of the
nature of
reasons
our,
that
our
I bring
priorities.
water up so much.
Yeah, and it's also the easiest thing to address because even, you know, for a relatively small amount of money, when we know this is associated with so many diseases,
Right.
we can really kind of get at
Right.
that and save ourselves a lot of money. And that's really what I'm getting. And not only what you're saving your children and your grandchildren, you know, they matter to me. I probably matter
Right.
to you, is what I'm guessing.
Right.
And so there is a whole lot that can be done. And with that money, we can really, you know, do much greater and better things in our lives. And, you know, like you said, to kick it off, vote with our money.
Yeah.
That's
Vote with your money.
Vote with your money. If you
Buy
show me your
good
pocketbook, I'll show you what you respect. You
That's
know,
right.
And so,
And you empower those that are at the front lines trying to bring you good food.
Yeah.
You're helping them do that because,
Yeah.
you know, how many of us can make our lives defined by standing in front
Yeah.
of city council 7 days a week?
Yeah, and
but you see what I'm saying? Not
totally.
suggesting that we shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I write my congressmen, I write my senators. I'm a good I'm a good American citizen. I do my part to vote. I and all of that. But at the end of the day, if I continue to buy the things that I know are bad for me and eat them, then it's irrelevant.
yeah, and it's
It
on
just-
us.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then it's on
I didn't
us.
want it that much.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so, you know, the idea of eating organic, man, there's
Mm-hmm.
so many things. How do you detox from glyphosate? There's so many things we just don't have time to talk about in this panel. But I just encourage people to check out Time Bomb because there are so many, like you talked about probiotics. One of the things Daniel has suggested that I do, and this has helped a ton, is eat fermented foods. Maybe being more powerful
Yeah.
than taking a spendy probiotic.
Yeah, without getting
Kraut, kimchi, this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's fermented fiber specifically.
Now he's going to teach a clinic on fermented fiber.
I won't. No, I'll keep it really brief.
You gotta love this guy because you can say almost anything, and you know it's interesting. 1 hour later, the clinic comes to a close. You know,
I do that. But to glyphosate, I would say the outside of the two things we just suggested, fermented fiber is the single best thing you could do because of the way it reinitializes. Giving you probiotics, it is a probiotic. It gives you the fiber by which they live on, but all the things produced from the bacteria metabolizing that fiber heal the digestive linings. They heal and reestablish metabolic pathways. And this is a
and
deeply
they start
complicated
choking off the. It's way more complex.
It
but
is.
They start
It's so
choking off the
complicated.
overgrowth of
Yeah.
candidus and SIBO and all this other stuff that people are plagued with.
Yeah, and I would even say that that's the beauty of God because it precedes that we don't need to know all that. Like I am utterly fascinated. I study all day, every day, essentially.
He does.
And,
He really does.
and but that there is real, tangible things that we know that we can do. And something as small as adding just one bite of kimchi a day or two or kraut or something like that goes to directly addressing the metabolic dysfunction that comes with association of glyphosate specifically. Wow. And there's a couple other things that follow this. And again, we will hopefully be providing
And
more
how
of that
cheap is that?
programming. Yeah.
$6 for a jar of really good
Therapy.
Yeah, therapy that's going to last you 3 weeks if you do it, in small portions.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. Super cheap. And almost always, your path to health is the cheapest, simplest, most direct path to fulfilling your nature.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying before, too. I mean, even with the Berkey water filter, a couple $100 or $300 or $400 might seem like a lot at first for some people, which is totally understandable. But think about all the money you'll be saving without all the extra medical bills by not doing it.
Yeah.
So that makes total sense.
And we're meant to feel good in our lives too. This is a lot of reason why we feel bad, like the aches and pains. We could literally associate almost all major conditions from derangements of the digestive and metabolic system. So you're talking about Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, developmental diseases in children, fertility, whether you're motivated in the morning or whether you go to sleep at night. It literally is pervasive on almost every
This
human
is
biological
literally
level.
why we wrote Time Bomb. Please get a copy of Time Bomb because it will put so much into perspective for you.
And we're going to let you know how you can get a copy of this. That'll be after this episode. But yes, please do. Just really quickly, you can go to skywatchtvstore.com and find that there. But we got some other stuff that we can put with it. We'll tell you about that in a minute. Well, guys, thank you so much. It's been incredibly informative, and I think the audience is going to be able to get a lot from that. It's good that there is hope. It's not all doom and gloom like the both of you said. So thank you for coming on and sharing.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, well, there you have it. Yes, it is getting really bad out there. Nobody's denying that, but it is not hopeless. There are things that you can do today to drastically improve your overall health and quality of life. I suggest going and watching the interview again. Daniel and Joe gave so many good, informative steps that you can take. It would be easy to miss out on a couple. I suggest going and watching the interview again. Get a notebook, take some notes, because it's really important, and there's a lot that you might have missed. Also, if you can, pick up the book Time Bomb. You can get that at skywatchtvstore.com. We're actually going to tell you how you can get a hold of that and some more products involved with that. But the good thing is there is hope. There is a way out. There are things that you can do to drastically improve your overall health and quality of life. Do not forget, if you're viewing this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Click the bell for notifications. And if YouTube still doesn't notify you, which it probably won't, if it still doesn't notify you, just know that every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Central, you'll get a new episode of Into the Multiverse. And again, this has been Into the Multiverse. I am your host, Josh Peck. Into the Multiverse, the show that dares to expose hidden truths that the world wants to keep secret and the church would rather ignore. You'll get that stuff here and nowhere else. Thank you all so much for joining me. Until next week, love you all. Take care. God bless.
As many as 80% of Americans are carrying a time bomb. A medical crisis in their bodies right now, unaware that they will soon develop prolonged chronic illness, autoimmune disease, or even cancer. Today's frightening truth is citizens are being poisoned every single day without their knowledge. A health epidemic largely brought on by industrialized food is destroying our genetics and immune systems through deadly modified organisms, carcinogenic materials, and life-threatening chemicals commonly found in most of today's processed groceries. Coming this April in the groundbreaking new book, Time Bomb, by Joe Ardis Horn and Allie Anderson. You'll be put in charge of your health once again as commercial marketing games are exposed and the expose of the year unveils how easy it is to avoid toxic ingredients, identify organic and safe foods, and make healthy eating affordable. You will learn how neuroscience is confirming an amazing gut-brain connection that holds the key to maintaining physical, hormonal, emotional, and mental wellness. With powerful insights from health professionals for maintaining superior physiology and reversing chronic illness without a weight loss diet. Time Bomb is set to become your most important field guide for avoiding a national health epidemic more pervasive than anyone could have ever imagined. Time Bomb.
There is a genocide of deadly processed foods happening right now in the United States, creating a health epidemic more pervasive than anyone ever imagined. But now, you can arm yourself with the knowledge to keep you and your family from becoming its next victim. Skywatch TV is proud to announce the Time Bomb special offer. When you order Time Bomb from the Skywatch TV store, you'll also receive the Time Bomb Companion DVD. This incredible DVD includes special, never-before-released, off-the-record interviews with healthcare professionals like Dr. Ralph Umbriaco, Dr. Joshua Vance, and Dr. Matthew Sams on the current food crisis in the U.S., and tips on how to achieve your optimal physiological health. This DVD is nearly 5 hours in length and also includes the entire Skywatch TV Time Bomb television series with Joe Horn, Allie Anderson, and Derek Gilbert. But that's not all. You'll also receive Eat This and Live for Kids. This colorful, fully illustrated book by Dr. Don Colbert walks you step by step through how to begin teaching your kids to love the foods that will love them back. While out shopping, how to avoid deadly toxins in many common kids' foods and household products, what to feed your kids from preschool to preteen, healthy snacks they will love, and what supplements they'll desperately need, and so much more. But the health epidemic isn't just limited to humankind. Also included in this unbelievable special offer, Joe Artis Horn's best-selling book, The Dead Pets Don't Lie Expose, and companion DVD. This shocking book and DVD collection sounds the alarm on the scandalous practices of the commercial pet food industry. Learn how the FDA is allowing big scams where detestable, poisonous pet foods are being passed off as healthy and causing pets to die prematurely. You'll learn everything you need to know in order to quickly read pet food labels and allow your pet to avoid these toxic ingredients. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of over $100. Yours now for a donation of only $30 plus shipping and handling. Take control today. The Time Bomb special offer is your field guide to avoiding the deadly processed foods and ingredients that are creating a massive wave of health crisis in America. This information covers every member of the family, the adults, children, and even our pets. Begin transforming how you and your family eat and live now. The Time Bomb special offer. Order now at the Skywatch TV store online or call 844-750-4985.